All right, we're gonna run the Partner 5000. Did some more work to it. We put a different carburetor on it, made modifications and all that stuff. So it's the modification so far is just a guess. So from this point out, we have to start making those fine little tweaks. You know what I mean? To get her running exactly the way we want her to run. So, yeah, that's what's going on there. And there's another change. I was surprised on the last video at how much torque it had. So we took her up to a 9-pin sprocket 325 chain. Now, those of you who have experimented by doing that on your 60cc saws and stuff, I'm doing that on a 50cc. So I think the alcohol brought the torque up enough to go. Well, I was running an 8-pin before. From the port work, I was able to get the 8-pin. And the addition of the alcohol, it brought me up to a 9-pin. I think that's what we're going to be able to do here. Not really drastic change in RPM, more about increasing torque. Later down the road, we will do more port work to it. Work at stretching the RPM up a little bit higher. But, you know, we're kind of doing this in steps. Poured it up for gas. Now we're taking her over to methanol. We're going to work at pulling the RPM up a little bit and work at taking her over to nitromethane. Don't know when that's going to happen, but we're going to work at getting the alcohol side of it tweaked just right before we move on to the next steps. You know, something we get to play with over and over again and slowly see the progress of the build as time goes on. That's kind of the goal here. So I already had it running, so she's good and warmed up. I warmed it up so I could throw the air filter on it and just, we can go to town making cuts, you know what I mean? It is a square chain, 9-pin sprocket, and I think I could actually get a little bit hungrier on the chain. Maybe a touch deeper on the rakers. So you tell me what you think. All right, let's go ahead and get her fired up. I'm gonna see if my tack works, my handheld tack. I'm gonna use it. And I can tell you that this is as much flow. This is max flow out of this carburetor. This is as much fuel I can get out of it currently. But I am at that point where I'm starting to get the tune and have just a tiny bit of adjustment. But it's just a tiny bit. I need to do just a little bit more modification so I can have a wider range of adjustment in the carburetor. So what you're seeing here today is as much fuel we can throw at it currently. So we do need to make more tweaks, but yeah, let's have some fun. Let's make some cuts. And I'm gonna hold the tack just to get an idea to see what kind of RPM she's pulling. But we ain't gonna know unless we're holding the tack, right? Let's do it. All right, here we go. I just made a couple of quick cuts. So I'm gonna fire it up and turn the camera on for you. I ran out of fuel. I only had like a quarter of a tank in it, so it didn't last long. Now I gotta try to get her started. All right, we're gonna have to do some tuning. I threw the air filter on, and holy cow, did that make a difference? Like a big difference.
She's closer than I thought, and she's faster than I thought. She's pulling more RPM than I thought. I was thinking 12s, but no, we are past 13. About 13.5, I'd say average. Some of the cuts are at like 13.2, some are 13.8. So yeah, I'm just gonna say she's averaging about 13.5. I still think the chain needs to be hungrier. Probably just my sharpening though. It's probably just not quite up to par. You know what I mean? The carburetor is just a pain in the butt to play with right now. I have the Hi-Jet out so far that it's basically loose. As soon as I hit the throttle, it wants to unscrew. And so I get one cut and then it's shot from there. You know what I mean? The tune is, it just, after every cut, it's like I got to retune it. So I got to get it opened up enough to where that Hi-Jet is seated a lot further in. You know, it's unscrewed so far that there's no spring. There's a little spring in there that kind of keeps the tension on it. There's no spring tension on it. It's unscrewed so far. And the vibration wants to unscrew it. The idle circuit seems to be perfect. I'm able to tune it. It seems to be tuning like spot on. It's that high speed that's screwing with me. So I think we got the low side of it good. We just need to get that high side opened up a little better so I don't have to run that screw out so far. But that's where we're at. And that is a 9-pin. Just, I'm looking at my chips. I wish my chips were bigger. But this is 325 chain on oak. So oak don't throw the best chips. It's hard to say what it'd be like on something softer. You know what I mean? Yeah, there she is. That's where we're at. You know what I mean? She is torquey as heck. It's got loads of torque. That's what makes me think that maybe my chain just ain't up to par. You know what I mean? Because I am pushing the snot out of that thing to go through the cut. And I think my chain is what's lacking. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll take my other chain that's done on a round grinder and throw it on and see how it does. But for now, that's the way we're set up. It might just need to go deeper on a raker or something. I don't have a raker gauge for 325 chain. So it's more of a guess. You know what I mean? I never measured it or whatever. It could just be running a high raker. So we'll see how she progresses here. But I need to open up that carburetor just a tiny bit more. Need to work on that chain a little bit more. It's getting close though, isn't it?
I was not expecting to see above 13,000, let alone see 13.8 on a couple of those cuts. Now they weren't, I wouldn't say it's cutting to 13.8 though. I think it's cutting closer to 13.5. So yeah, a little bit more work there, and eventually we're going to see if we can stretch those RPM just up just a touch more. Probably lose some torque in the process and get that torque back by throwing nitromethane at it. So I remember me saying how the compression's a little high for this to run nitromethane. I'm hoping after I make the modifications to spin more RPM that the compression drops a little, enough to start throwing nitromethane at it. That's kind of the plan. It'll be a while till we get there though. You know what I mean? So 210 pounds of compression is where she's at, just so you know. So there you go. Alrighty, till the next one. Later.